Hello, my name is Enrica Jang. I am Executive Director of the Edgar Allan Poe House and Museum, Poe Baltimore, the nonprofit organization that runs the museum, as well as the administrator for the Saturday Visitor Awards, a new honor presented by Poe Baltimore, recognizing a new generation of artists and writers inspired by Edgar Allan Poe. We are starting a brand new series of interviews with our slate of judges for the 2021 Saturday Visitor Awards. And I am here with Dean Browell, a brand new judge for 2021. Welcome, Dean. I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Please share with our audience your affiliation with Poe.
You bet. Thanks so much for having me. So my name is Dean Browell. I'm actually one of the owners of a market research firm named Feedback, but more importantly, I'm on the board of the Poe Museum in Richmond, Virginia.
Well, welcome. How long have you been with the board?
Let's see. I think I've been on the board. We're coming up on year 3. So relatively new by the standards of the Poe Museum itself. We're 100 years old, but long time fan and member.
I tell people that all the time. Museum time, you're new for at least 2 decades. You don't get to be.
Right, yeah.
You don't get to be. You have to at least be half a century before you get to say
That's
you've
right.
been with them for a long time. But no, I feel you. Well, can you share with us your connection to Poe? What drew you to want to serve on the board, and how do you continue to be inspired by Poe?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny. I grew up. I grew up a very honest goth kid. I mean, there's really no other way. Like, black dyed in the wool goth kid as a teen, and I've been a huge fan of Poe really my life, and I've always grew up as a writer as well, just constantly writing, largely for the stage, but really beginning with Telltale Heart, just a huge fan of Poe's. And then in recent years, I've been living in Richmond for a number of years, lived in and around the city for most of my life. And so I've been to the Poe Museum hundreds, if not thousands of times over the years. And the last several, though, finally really wanted to, let's just say I've been on a number of boards and things that were, yes, about, family interests or, things for work, right? Things, industries for work. And finally I was like, I want to do something that would be for me. And so in joining the board of the Poe Museum, I can honestly say it's something that Goth Dean would have been very proud of, probably more proud of than the PhD I've got or any of my work I've done, in my career. But being on the Poe Museum board would have definitely delighted a 13-year-old dyed black hair Dean in a way like I finally made it.
I hope Goth Dean comes out for the festival.
At least a little bit, but
I feel you. I feel for you. The awards obviously honor new generation of artists and writers inspired by Poe. My favorite thing to do is really challenge people to try to think of another author that has inspired popular culture the same way that Poe has
Oh,
done.
yeah.
And so the work brings together all mediums and all genres of art. But when we talk about work adapting or inspired by Poe, does anything come that really moved you or moves you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I'll give you two examples. The first is a relatively new one. I've got a 17-month-old daughter. I have a 17-year-old and a 17-month-old. But the 17-month-old, we've been enjoying almost every night the Kate Combs Nevermore book for toddlers. And like she's delighted by it. I'm delighted that she's delighted. So that's been a neat adaptation. I would never have necessarily expected to be able to share, which is great. But for me personally, though, I've got to say one that sticks out, and this is just a brag on the Poe Museum. Telltale Heart is one of my favorite things ever, and their mock trial that they do, done by what we call museum dean. I'm board dean, and then there's museum dean, Dean Knight. But they do this mock trial that, like, I would have never thought about adapting the concepts or the characters in that story in that way. And I think it's just it's a really clever, really brilliant way that they've turned that into just a very different work of almost performance art. And that thing just continues to. I've seen it several times. I just really think it's a fantastic way to kind of twist and make you look at it in a very different way.
We were very fortunate last year of folks who may have been with us during the virtual festival last year. We did get an opportunity to see that mock trial.
Okay.
And if you want to visit the Best of Poe Fest, you might still catch some of the trial, but I know what you mean. Museum Dean is a very talented reader and performer of Poe. So hey, Dean, how's it going out there if he's watching? Well, what do you think still connects people to Poe? It's funny. People tease me because I make it sound like a religion. But what is still connecting us with Poe? What is it about the work? Is it horror? What is it about the work that's still here with us, present?
I think it's a good question because I think that it's very easy with other authors, and I even think about this. So my arts background, like I mentioned before, is in playwriting and in the theater, and it's real easy sometimes in the theater to be able to name somebody famous or influential, but then when you dig down, they really are really big in one genre or technique or something. And I have to say, I think that with Poe, it can be deceptive. I think because people have their own attachment to Poe, and it may come through one genre. But I think one of the things that's given him staying power is the fact that he's sort of this engine of several different genres. So if you are into horror, or even more specifically like period horror, especially those who are into things like the Lovecraftian kind of angles and whatnot, you can just sort of do your little timeline right on back to his influence there. If it's detective mysteries, if it's even just purely with poetry and just the general generally prose or poetry. And I think that's what's given him some staying power, is that you can end up finding, you get 10 people in a room who all love Poe or have been influenced by him, and find out that all of them were influenced for completely different reasons, and for very different. And so I think it's the how varied his styles and the power of his works and the sort of the potency of what he's done, I think has really given him just some staying power that's just different, I think, than other writers. My favorite to kind of compare, not to compare him to in terms of technique or anything else, but like, for example, if you look at like a Stephen King, most people who like know Stephen King, they'll immediately be like, oh, I mean, like master of horror, right? And they'll like start talking about this, like, whatever. And it's really funny too, because we forget about things like Shawshank Redemption and things that were done that were connected with him that were not in necessarily that original bend, that show his talent. but that's not what people go to. But I think that, with someone like Poe, I think it's really just that there's so many legs to the variety in what he was able to influence, and it just makes for a different like cultural engine kind of always running in the background. And I think it makes it tough, right, for museums and for people who want to feature him, because you start thinking about like, who are our constituencies, right? Who are our audiences? And you're like, wow, it could be like, yeah, like 90% of like the written word in some way has been like influenced in many ways by him. And I think that's a challenge, right, for those of us who are like, who love to narrow and be able to really like think about audiences in a really targeted way. But at the same time, it's also the blessing though of how many artistic and just in terms of just even literature, how many lives he's been able to touch and reach. And I think that's just such a cool thing. And there really aren't that many authors that can say that they play in all those genres and can have fans that can point straight to that.
I love that you mentioned Stephen King. To even his most recent books, there's an acceleration, it seems to me. Maybe I'm just picking up on it more, but more Poe references. And you can find him flat out saying how much Poe influenced his work,
Right.
but lots more references, even his recent work. I'm
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
enjoying finding all of that. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this brief talk, and welcome to our slate of judges for the 2021 Saturday Visitor Awards. As the administrator, seeing a lot of these entries coming in, I can guarantee that you're going to be really tickled and excited by a lot of what we're seeing in this new crop of entries for this year. We're very excited, and we're excited to see how you respond as a judge.
I can't wait. I'm so excited to be a part. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Hi, everyone. Enrica Jang here, Executive Director of Poe Baltimore, the Edgar Allan Poe House and Museum, as well as the administrator for the Saturday Visitor Awards. I want to thank Dean Browell for being so game to do that interview with us. It was a pre-recorded segment, but he is one of the slate of judges for the 2021 Saturday Visitor Awards. If you're interested in seeing the rest of the slate of judges, we will have a couple of interviews with those folks in the next few weeks as we count down to the deadline to enter the 2021 Saturday Visitor Awards. As well, please continue to follow along. News about the festival just went out a couple weeks ago, and we're looking forward to a really wonderful festival season as we ramp up and get ready for this whole slide straight down to October. Super excited about this. But thank you all, the folks I see online with us tonight. And I hope that I'm joined this evening by some folks interested in asking questions about the Saturday Visitor Awards. This is the final month to get your entries together. Get ready to enter those Poe-inspired works for the Saturday Visitor Awards. And the purpose of our talk this evening is to answer some questions, get people excited about the awards, and get those entries in, really get you off the fence, get you in. If you are a creator of works inspired by Poe, adapting Poe, we want to see. And as Dean mentioned, Poe is an engine for different genres, different mediums. We are not limited in this way. So we'll be talking tonight about the guidelines for the awards, how to enter, but very grateful to Dean with the Poe Museum Richmond for being with us this year. And if you'd like to see the other slate of judges, do please visit SaturdayVisitorAwards.org. So I will jump into a couple of quick frequently asked questions and tips. If you saw some of our series back in January, February, some of this stuff may seem familiar, but we're going to go through the top line stuff, but then I will open this up. I will be able to see your questions and comments come in. So I am curious. I want to know, and I want to be able to be a resource for you guys to answer any questions you may have about the awards. So first off, some dates to remember. Well, we've already opened January 19th. Call for entries open on Poe's birthday, but here's the one you really need to know. May 30th. Hey, not 31st, not the last day in May, but the second to last day in May, penultimate day in May, May 30th, 11:59 p.m. That is Eastern time, is the deadline to enter. Visit SaturdayVisitorAwards.org to visit, to enter the portal, and you'll see guidelines as well as a entry form that you can download to practice before you submit your stuff. Once the deadline has passed, we will announce the nominees on July 30th of this year, and Poe Fest International is slated for October 2nd and 3rd of this year. October 2nd and 3rd, 2021. I have it on very good authority. We are planning to have an in-person festival. Not only will we continue to have virtual programs for those folks who cannot yet travel to us in Baltimore, but we are planning to have a festival in person. More details about the festival as the coming months, as things roll along and we see things open up. But it certainly was an exciting week this past week, and we're very, very excited to continue planning for the awards. Got some really, really great events coming up. But those dates to remember, May 30th, though, is the deadline to enter. Now, visit SaturdayVisitorAwards.org for entry guidelines. You can download a PDF, practice your entry before you submit them on the form. We also have other frequently asked questions. I'm going to share a couple of the ones we've gotten the last couple of months. Share with you guys. But even if you're not brave enough to send any questions my way tonight, do please feel free to send some questions to contact@poefestinternational.org. It's kind of small here, but I'll show you guys that email address a little bit bigger in a moment. But contact us. You can email us via the website or at that email address. The only thing we ask is please don't send specific SVA entry information via social media. You've got different folks looking at social media. They won't be able to answer your questions. So the best thing to do is to go to the website, look at our frequently asked questions, look at the entry guidelines. You can download those. You can practice your form before you submit it. And it's if you want specific answers to your specific question you don't want to ask tonight, please go to the website instead of trying to get a hold of us on Twitter or Facebook. I will be talking a little bit about the Saturday Visitor Awards categories. The categories are awarded in 2 categories: adaptations of Poe's life or works and original works inspired by Poe. And this is about the time I play a little video for you talking about the Saturday Visitor Awards guidelines. Here we go. So Saturday Visitor Awards categories. The awards are given in 2 categories. First, adaptations of Poe's life or works, and more traditional adaptation of Poe's life or works. Now, portraiture counts here. Obviously, Poe was a real person, so portraits of Poe. And again, we have seen some very creative iterations of Poe in different mediums. Beadwork was one of our winners last year. Paintings, of course, but sculpture, this kind of thing. Portraiture falls in here. Biography is also in this category because of the narrative nature of biography. Now, it's important to note that the Saturday Visitor Awards are intended to recognize artistic works rather than academic criticism. So the reason biography, though, falls into this category is because you must be a pretty good storyteller if it's going to be an interesting biography, not just detailing the events in a person's life. So a biography does fall in this category. And then, of course, film dramatic adaptation. These are just examples, but again, we are seeing people really pushing the boundaries of this category. Very, very exciting. The second category for the Saturday Visitor Awards, original works inspired by Poe. And examples might be Poe's life as character in a film, novel, or play, other historic figures or people in Poe's life, characters in an original film, novel, or play. Sequels, perhaps, prequels also count, or any basis from Poe, a basis for original story. And then, of course, original poetry. And we've had some wonderful winners winners in the last few years of Saturday Visitor Awards as well, and of course poetry. So very important for all of us. So these categories, there is more information in the guidelines about these categories, and of course, one thing to note, and I get this a lot, is if you're not quite sure where your work may fit, you can write to us, ask for a recommendation for the category, but also know that if the judges decide as a panel that a piece may be more fitting in one category or another, you may be pushed to the other category and you will be alerted ahead of time. So even if you feel like you might have gotten this wrong or you're not quite sure, there is still an opportunity that you might get pushed to another category. The judges decide that it's a better fit given the slate that we see this year. So these things usually have a remedy, so you don't have to fret or worry about that. Now, important to note, eligibility requirements. You will see, again, more information about this by downloading the eligibility and requirements on SaturdayVisitorAwards.org. But important to note, media, art, performance, and or writing that adapts or is inspired by Poe's life and works. A direct line to Poe. We're really looking for the artist to share with us how Poe is the inspiration for that work, not just thematically or sort of loosely, but give us an idea of how Poe, that direct line from Poe to this particular work. There are no restrictions by medium or genre. We encourage, I can't think of anything that we would restrict, so please, we're interested in your work. The more out there, the more exciting it is for our judges. So don't be shy about that. And again, if there are any questions, don't hesitate to contact the administrator, the person you're talking to right now. The works for the 2021 season must have been released, printed, distributed, or first performed between January 1, 2018 and December 31, 2020. That is the previous 3 years. If you are working on your opus right now and you're trying to get it done by May 30th, you've got another year. You're not ready yet, and you won't be eligible for another year. But any work created in the last 3 years, January 1, 2018 to December 31, 2020, those works must have been released, printed, or distributed, not just created. Now, it's important to note, social media does count. You can be a self-published author, for instance. You can be a web artist or somebody who releases their work online, as long as we can see that on that timestamp that the work was released and made available to the public, not just privately, but publicly. Got to be out there, got to be brave, get out there. Then the work is eligible. If it has not yet been released, again, wait 1 more year. You've got a little bit more time to refine that, but you want to release by the end of this year. But I see so many people get tripped up on that, and as the administrator, sometimes I'm rolling admissions back to the creators and telling them, hey, we got a little bit more time, but important to note that, and we'll share that information again. Now, reprinted or re-released materials are discouraged. We ask for that 3-year window so that somebody doesn't feel like, oh, I hadn't heard about these awards yet, and I created this piece 2 years ago. It's old now. No. Not at all. Eternal. This work is eternal. But reprinted or re-released materials are discouraged. Now, the judges, if the work has been changed materially in some way, and you can come clean and say this work has been was released previously. However, sometime within the last 3 years, it was released again, and there were material changes. Yes, that is eligible. And so it's one of those questions that you want. If there's a question, no question, email me, get a hold of the administrator, get a hold of me, and ask me that question before you submit. I'm very happy to go over that with you, and we can talk about your work together. Now, a work may be nominated in more than 1 year, but a winning entry may not be entered again. And once you've won, again, that win is eternal. But if you've been nominated in previous years, our previous nominees, you are welcome to enter your work again, as long as the work has still falls within this period of eligibility, and it's a rolling period of eligibility. Eventually, these works do get phased out, but we encourage people to come back. We encourage you to come back. for another minute. I am here to answer those questions while I'm waiting to see if any questions come in. We'll do a little plug for, of course, Poe House. Poe House is open for reservations in Baltimore. If you can travel to come and see us, Poe House is open still on a limited basis, reservation only, but you can visit poebaltimore.org to come and see us. But if you are interested in supporting our mission to keep Poe's chamber door open to visitors from around the world, please consider making a donation to Poe Baltimore. Text Poe Baltimore to 44321 to donate. And I have it on good authority, we will soon be accepting crypto. So the museum, supported by crypto, very excited to be able to offer that to folks. But we need your donations, guys. We are a nonprofit. We do programs like the festival, which is a free event, and keep Poe's chamber door open to visitors. So please consider supporting the museum. But even if you cannot give a monetary donation, do please consider connecting with us, not just here on Facebook, not just here on YouTube, but we're on Twitter, Instagram, and continuing to follow more of our programs. All right, still not seeing any questions from folks. That's okay. I want you to visit us at the SaturdayVisitorAwards.org. Learn more about the awards. Learn more about this incredible program as we continue to create and plan for the festival this October. Again, save the date, October 2nd and 3rd, 2021. Again, such an incredible week. Things seem to be turning. Really hope that is the case here. And we hope that we will see you in Baltimore either very soon at Poe House or this year, October 2nd and 3rd. Again, we're commemorating the 172nd anniversary of Edgar Allan Poe's death here in the city. All right. Well, no question. Let's see. I've got to see a question here from Roger, our Poe paver. Yes, as a matter of fact, Poe pavers are still available in the gift shop. And as a matter of fact, we will soon be opening pavers for Poe Fest. That's going to be coming up soon. Where if you purchase your paver before June 30th, before general admission for the general admission for the festival goes on sale, if you purchase your paver, you'll be able to see it at the festival this year if you come and see us. So pavers are still available. I may even have a graphic here about buy an engraved paver, see it at the festival next year. That particular paver is my paver over at Poe House. But thank you, Roger, for asking that question. And yes, they are still available. And we are waiting for you, and Pavers for Poe Fest will be opening soon. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. I hope everybody is feeling better, feeling a little trepidation, feeling things are opening up, feeling better. But I do hope that as your plans are taking shape, coming back out into the world, come and see us in Baltimore in October. Thank you guys for being with us tonight. And join me next Monday when we have another interview with one of our Saturday Visitor Awards judges, as well as our soon we'll have an interview with our guest of honor and presenter of Saturday Visitor Awards, Rafael Alvarez. So more of that coming up soon. Thank you very much for joining.